Продовжуємо роботу в Українському кризовому медіа-центрі. Зараз говоритимемо про
We continue our work in UCMC, and now we will be talking about the 4 years after Avtomaidan trip to Mezhyhirya. We have our guests, Maselko, Avtomaidan attorney, Vitalii Tytych, lawyer of families of the Heavenly 100 Heroes, and Oleh Puschak, Avtomaidan activist, indicted of a trip to Lutsenko's estate. You are welcome to the stage. Good afternoon to everyone. Indeed, 4 years ago, on 29th of 2013, a very significant event happened, the largest in the history of Ukraine, the rally where the cars went, more than 2,000 cars made a trip to Yanukovych's estate, previous president of Ukraine. The action was really amazing and impressive, and its results were impressive. In 3 or 5 days, most of the participants in this event, they were receiving documents that they are violators and administrative protocols were fake protocols, and they were issued and sent to courts so that driver's licenses are cancelled. Everyone understood why it was happening. Of course, no protest rally participants were guilty of those allegations, and all those protocols and documents and reports, they were fake, and the judges who knew that there were no evidence, but anyway, they issued resolutions to cancel driver's licenses, or they also punished the participants of rally with fines. More than 450 traffic inspection staff members took part in this event, along with 120 judges. Of course, after the dignity revolution finished, the key requirement, the key demand was to punish these persons who are perpetrators of a crime, and the investigation started. First, the investigation started, and the second was the demand to bring them to liability and so that they are fired from their positions. Let's divide into 2 groups of responsibility: criminal liability and disciplinary liability. As concerns criminal proceedings, hundreds of proceedings in Kiev and Kiev region, prosecutors' offices started, and the investigations began, and they were very formal, those investigations, and of low quality, and we understood that it was only a visibility of activities. First, those proceedings, they tried just to close them, but thanks to active position of the activists, stopped these attempts, but the quality remained low. The General Prosecutor's Office sent to court 48 accusation acts against 5 judges and several dozens of traffic inspectors, and we understood even those days that there are no prospects in these cases because the documents, the files served to courts, they were of low quality. So it seemed that those law enforcement officers as well as judges, they helped to avoid liability. So in 2015, me and Mr. Stolarchuk, the prosecutor, we mentioned when made a statement where we mentioned all those cases, and but Mr. Stolarchuk said, "Why do you try to teach me? We are submitting those cases to the courts, and now we have no judgments issued and no perpetrators punished. There are 7 no guilty verdicts, as we said before. So 48 cases are in the courts, being tried circle by circle. This is such a stage-by-stage process. They return to the prosecutor's office and then to the court 4 or 5 times. There are no guilty persons punished, and the prosecutor's office demonstrate formal activities. Most of those acts were submitted in 2014 and at the end of 2017. Most of them are in courts being tried, and the main problem is not in the judges. Also, they are also not good, but in those indictments that were submitted to the court. This is one category, regional prosecutors' offices. There is another category of cases. After the lawyers of the victims, we demanded relevant and adequate investigation. Indeed, most of episodes were submitted to Special Investigation Department. Last year, we proved that those traffic police officers, they made actions upon instruction of the headquarter staff. 19 traffic policemen, along with 2 deputy managers of the traffic police in Kiev of the times of Yanukovych. They were organizers of this crime, and the head of traffic police, Mr. Kurinny, he is now on the wanted list, and he is accused, along with his deputies, of these persecutions. 19 persons were accused, over 40 victims. The proceedings, the trial is on the way in Svetoshin court, but there are many episodes and many victims and many accused persons. The process is long, and it is always postponed. Once one of the accused officers did not appear in court because he is working as a police officer guard, so he continues to work in the police. In general, the indictments were submitted for 69 persons. For the rest of persons, the investigations continue, and the materials have not been submitted to court, so the statistical data are very sad. There are no persons punished, and there are 7 no guilty verdicts. As concerns the situation, we remember the cases of Tsarevich, Kitsuk, they are cases of Maidan, but so far the case has been tried in court, and it is not at the stage of hearing it in essence. And the judge Lenik, he also was the judge of Maidan, and he was to accuse the other, his colleague. So we needed a long time to cancel his figure, so he can't work on this case. So for all cases, the higher council of judges is in charge, and we have statistical data now. Only 10% of Maidan judges have been fired. The rest of judges remain at their posts, and they avoid any liability. There was also a demand the judges of Maidan who issued judgments, final judgment, but also the organizers should be punished. It was our demand, but I should say that both the prosecutor's office and the higher justice council they did not find the organizers. There are no persons punished, and the heads of courts, for example, the head of Shevchenkivsky court, of the Court of Appeal in Kiev region, Grinenko, now working judge, they avoided liability. However, they were organizers of those fake cases. Moreover, they are now renewed at their posts. Those judges, even who had been fired, several judges of Maidan, who, for example, Zakharchuk judge, the higher justice court did not fire her, but she was instead assigned for indefinite time to be a judge. 3 weeks ago, 5 judges of the Court of Appeal in Kiev region who proved the illegal decisions on Avtomaidan, they also passed qualification assessment, and they are not now threatened to firing, and they committed crimes, and they would not be even fired from their jobs. So the situation with the Avtomaidan judges is dramatically bad. What we observe, what we have been doing for 4 years, why we are demanding the punishment, not to satisfy the victims, but not to repeat this again. What is happening now on December 25th, of 2013, one of the leaders of Avtomaidan, Mr. Khadjinov, he was the first who received this fake report for the action of protest near the Ministry of Interior at Bogomoltsa Street. It was 4 years ago, but in 1 year for the trip to Mezhyhirya, the same fake reports were issued, and on 21st December 2017, again the same Mr. Khadjinov and one of Avtomaidan activists who is here, Mr. Puschak, the fake reports were issued against them on July 13th at the rally near the Verkhovna Rada, when the lifting of immunity from Dobkin Barna were demanded. The eggs were used. They just throw 3 eggs onto Barna MP. Obama, Trump, and Czech President and Yanukovych also, they were beaten with eggs, but never criminal liability was liability followed. But 3 Avtomaidan activists have been served charges, and they may face 3 to 7 years in prison for this. Activists of Avtomaidan, they can be jailed for 4 years. This is persecution for their activities. Indeed, the cause is not in the eggs against Barna. There was a trip to the estate of Mr. Lutsenko, who is now a general prosecutor. And after that, very soon, the case, the proceedings were initiated by police department in Pechersk district of Kiev, and the charges were served under Article 346 of the Criminal Code of Ukraine for beating the public figure or a civil servant. And the investigator summoned us once without a notice, although the charges should be served in written, and they should be sent to the address of the accused person. And the investigator said, we are instructed to do so, we can do nothing. So we were served summons. So this is absolute repeat of the events which happened 4 years ago, but even in more cynical manner. 4 years ago, we were deprived of driver's licenses, and now our activists, they are under the threat of 4 years in jail. Now I'm giving the floor to the Avtomaidan activist who is indicted of this trip to Lutsenko's estate. My name is Oleh Puschak, along with Roman. For 2 years we have been implementing Pursuit project. I would like to tell you why this case is politically motivated against me, Mr. Khadjiev and Mr. Melnik. Pursuit project is aimed at uncovering inadequate and unhonest and non-integral judges and prosecutors. We are making an investigation of their property, such as estate, cars. First time Mr. Lutsenko thanked us for our investigation, and after that nothing happened. We received only the thanks from the general prosecutor, but the persons remain in their posts. So maybe we were thanked for the good colleagues who we advised to him so that he continue working with them. Further, we understood that the general prosecutor he doesn't care about the reforms and about the staff members. After that, we become accused, we become the perpetrators in the case, and we are now alleged of the sins which we have not done. So those persons who were not in jail 4 years ago, they are seen to try to be in jail this year. I do not understand why the case was initiated against us. It is a kind of other reality. After the revolution of dignity, I would never thought that it could happen to us, but this is reality of 2017. Activists who are fighting with the general prosecutor's office, they should be in jail. This is the stand of our leaders of the state. I am Vitalii Tytych, a lawyer. Colleagues provided the most of information, so I can just summarize. 4 years ago, Avtomaidan started its activities along with other citizens of our country. We achieved results and victory. The revolution of dignity won, as we thought those days, and our lawyers provided services to find the perpetrators of Maidan crimes so that this never happen again. But from what my colleagues said today, in 4 years the paradigm has changed, and today the crimes committed by Yanukovych regime, lower rank, they are on the second plan. They go to the background compared with those crimes which are happening today, which are committed by the judges and the prosecutors. I would like to emphasize, we have documented facts of resistance of the General Prosecutor's Office and General Prosecutors who are working now and who block the investigation against judges, as Roman said today. And this is the first stage. The second stage is what my colleague said, as they do not have arguments in the legislative framework. Our post-Maidan revolutionary regime uses the same methods as Yanukovych regime used. Our aim is we continue working and documenting the facts, and we try to act within the legislative framework, and if we would be very glad if this would be covered more in the mass media. All those actions against Avtomaidan participants are politically motivated, and there is a visible link with the actions which we are doing today. We will submit. We will file the suit, and we will file the claim, and we will bring these cases to the end, and all those who did those actions and who instructed to do those actions 4 years ago, we will make them liable. We want to live in the country of justice. The judges who have not been punished, this is direct liability of the general prosecutor of the country. Only he or his deputy can serve charges on the judges. There were many signals which judges could not be accused. So the charges have not been served against the head of Cherkasy court and other judges, and also pressure on the judges to those charges for 10 months have not been signed by the general prosecutor or his deputies. So no charges. This is the guilt of the general prosecutor. And we should continue our activities because the trends are very negative, and it is very likely that the similar events will continue to happen, and the 4 years events would be repeated these days.
Representative of Union, I have questions to Roman about Barna. Did they file this case because he complained to everyone that some hooligan actions were committed against him? So the case was started not in relation with his claim, and Mr. Barna publicly said that he didn't provide any formal complaints. So there is a video, and these were just egging at his head and at his shoulders, and also people who were previously egged, they just said that these acts didn't do any harm, but the investigators said that there is a claim filed by Barna, and we do not have any relation to this story. We didn't touch him. So the matter is, we filed an application to get the materials of the case, and we need to see these materials, and they said that they can provide them without any problems, but 3 days passed, and we were not provided with these materials. They started to hide them. So we know that there were no examination on the establishment of any bodily harm. So now there is a suspicion, and they said that they will provide such documents, but they do not provide this document. So we need to know what documents were provided. Is it maybe there is, in this case, there can be submission of such documents. And these actions, they are not crimes. This is administrative responsibility. And about Linik judge.
As concerned the verdict against Krysin, he was accused under the article of petty injuries, but there was nothing was said about the verdict against Linik. Is it possible that this judge is it possible to issue an appeal? I will tell you only one thing. How can we wait from the Linik judge who also issued the same reports, the same fake reports? So those two judges, they were connected in the Avtomaidan case by the fake, false charges on an Avtomaidan activist, and he was not fired. Then this means he has some tasks from the regime. I am a representative of the victim. Mr. Linik has the opportunity to manipulate because the accusations at the stage of prior to trial investigation, there are real problems as to which the statement, the claim of crime was filed. The jurisdiction was changed, and the question about Linik, there are obvious facts of the conflict of interest. 3 times we tried to remove him, and the prosecutor's office and his colleagues from Shevchenkivsky court, district court, they did not remove him. Formally, according to Article 69, Krysin was issued a verdict for 1 year for the grenade. This 1 year period finished by the time when verdict against Linik was issued. So formally, this person is not has not been charged, and Linik manipulated the process, the proceedings. This is possible to see from the schedule of trial. The trial took 3 years. This is also a question, and of course Linik distorted the verdict. He used fake circumstances to apply to Mr. Krysin only suspended sentence, as if this person can correct his behavior. No circumstances have been investigated. Of course, this person could not be qualified as the one which can be corrected without restriction of liberty. So the appeal of prosecutor's office is based on these facts. Whether the situation is possible when the Department of Special Investigations or General Prosecutor's Office can initiate one more case according to the newly found circumstances, the video evidence where we see how Krisin finishes beating, how he finishes the murder. Yes, you are right. 2 years ago, this episode was included by us into our claim. That during the pretrial investigation, while the investigators stated these circumstances, the investigation changed the circumstances, the facts of the case. They were known, and the correct scheme of this crime is quite another. And we said that this episode should be investigated in the sequence of actions, just as you said. So this demonstrates that there are no newly established circumstances or facts. According to the criminal code, a person could be only once investigated and punished. And on the other hand, what crime Krisin committed? This is the main question for me, and the key problem of this verdict, of this sentence. This is my subjective opinion. Then the too small punishment against Krisin. Krisin is not a bad person. He thinks he is a good person, that he tried to help Maidan to win. According to his evidences, according to he brought 10 Maidan activists for money. So we did not have 900 persons because he used money for his own purposes. This is only a joke. There are too many circumstances which do not fall into the limits of this briefing, but public resonance around this case and everything what is happening behind the curtain. We will make a special news conference on this. Thank you very much for your explanations. Are there any more questions as concerns Avtomaidan? We do not have questions, then we will end the briefing. Thank you.